As I stood in the crowded courtroom, holding the small hand of my 5-year-old daughter, Ginika, I couldn't help but think about the journey that had brought us here, the journey that had torn our lives apart. It all started 5 years ago. Chiamaka got pregnant, and her boyfriend at that time, Chinedu, left her without a second thought. It was when I met her. She was beautiful and had this infectious energy that drew me in. We fell deeply in love. I thought we were meant to be together when I learned she was pregnant. Life had other plans. I was there for her, offering a shoulder to cry on, and before long, I proposed to her. I wanted to be there for her and her child, but as Chiamaka's pregnancy progressed, she became increasingly withdrawn. She complained about everything, from the way she looked to the fact that her life was being turned upside down. I tried to be patient, thinking that things would get better after the baby was born, but they didn't. Ginika came into this world, and Chiamaka's complaints only grew louder. She disliked the fact that her body had changed, that she couldn't party like she used to, and that she was now tied down with a child. I tried to be supportive, but it seemed like nothing I did was ever enough. As the years went by, our relationship continued to deteriorate. Chiamaka and I grew apart, and I found myself becoming more and more attracted to Ginika. She was my world, my reason for being. And then one day, Chiamaka dropped the bombshell. "I want a divorce," she said. Her voice was cold and detached. "I'm so over you and that little girl. I wish I'd never had her." I was devastated. I thought we were a family, but I guess I was wrong. Soon after, she left the house with her bags. But then, something changed. Chiamaka showed up at my doorstep one day, looking happy. "Chinedu is back," she said. "He's ready to be a dad. Hand over my daughter." I was shocked. This was the same Chinedu who had left her high and dry when she was pregnant. The same Chinedu who never even bothered to meet his own daughter. The court date was set, and I was a nervous wreck. I knew the odds were against me. The courts always favored the mother, didn't they? I felt like I was going to lose Ginika, and the thought was tearing me apart. As we stood in the courtroom, waiting for the judge's decision, I felt Ginika's small hand slip into mine. I looked down at her, and she smiled up at me, her big brown eyes trusting and innocent. I knew I had to fight for her, no matter what. And then, just as the judge was about to deliver his verdict, a voice spoke up from the back of the courtroom. "Excuse me, Your Honor," it said. "I think I have something important to say." I turned to see who it was, and my heart skipped a beat as I saw our neighbor, Sarah, standing up and walking towards the front of the courtroom. Her daughter Emily was Ginika's best friend and classmate. I had always thought of Sarah as a kind and friendly neighbor, but I had no idea she was a social worker. Sarah stepped up and cleared her throat. "Your Honor, I have been a social worker with the Department of Child Services for over 10 years. I have been watching Ginika grow up, and I've seen firsthand the kind of person she is. She's a bright, curious, and loving child, and she deserves the best possible care." As Sarah spoke, I couldn't help to think about the countless times Ginika and Emily had played together, the laughter they shared. Sarah had been a constant presence in our lives, always willing to lend a helping hand or offer a listening ear. What I didn't know was that Sarah has been observing Ginika's situation with growing concern. She had seen the way Chiamaka had neglected Ginika, and she had seen the way I had to step up, providing Ginika with the love, care, and stability she deserved. Sarah's voice brought me back to the present. As a social worker, I have seen many cases where children have been caught up in the middle of parental conflicts. With all my years of experience, I believe she deserves a parent who will put her needs first, who will provide her with a stable and loving home. In my professional opinion, that parent is her father. The courtroom fell silent as Sarah finished speaking, and I could feel the weight of the judge's gaze upon me. I knew that this was it. This was the moment that would determine the course of Ginika's life. Chiamaka's lawyer stood up, his face red with anger. "Your Honor, this is outrageous. This social worker has no right to testify in this case. We demand her testimony be stricken from the records." But Sarah stood her ground. "I have every right to testify, Your Honor. As a social worker, it is my duty to speak up for the welfare of the child. I'm telling you, Ginika's welfare is best served by remaining in the custody of her father." The judge nodded thoughtfully, his eyes narrowing as he considered Sarah's words. "Based on the testimony I've heard today, I'm inclined to agree with Miss Sarah. The father has shown a clear commitment to the welfare of the child, while the mother has not. I hereby grant the custody of Ginika to her father, effective immediately." The courtroom erupted into chaos as Chiamaka screamed and cried. But I just stood there, frozen in shock. And then, as the reality of the situation sank in, I felt a wave of relief wash over me. Ginika was safe. She was going to be okay. I looked down at Ginika, who was staring up at me with big, tearful eyes. "Daddy," she whispered. I scooped her up in my arms, holding her tightly as I whispered back, "I've got you, baby girl. I'll always have you."